Last night I put into soak 2 cups of macadamia nuts. You can see how they're really quite greasy. That's why they're such creamy nuts, but they do leave the water really quite greasy. So now I'm going to drain off this water and rinse them really well. I've added the 2 cups of soaked macadamia nuts to the Vitamix, and I'm just going to add 1/4 cup of Rejuvelac and 1/4 cup of coconut milk. Now I'm using a stronger Rejuvelac this time because I'm actually using half the amount that I'd usually use. Usually I would use 1/2 cup of probiotic liquids, but this time I'm going to use a little bit of coconut milk because I want to make this even creamier. Macadamia nuts are already creamy, but I want to make this a double creamy cheese. So that's why I've made a stronger Rejuvelac. Usually a 2 to 3 day one is fine. This time it's a 4-day one. So now I'm just going to add these and then blend it. I blended everything together, and I ended up adding an extra 3 tablespoons of Rejuvelac and an extra 3 tablespoons of coconut milk as well, because whilst macadamia nuts, they're creamy, but they're also quite grainy, and so to get it to a sort of a smooth consistency, you need a little bit more liquid. So you just need to play it by ear rather than add everything at once. Just see how much you need, go with little and then add if you need it. So now I'm just going to press it down into this glass bowl and then cover it with a couple of pieces of cheesecloth and set it in a quiet place. It's actually sunset here, so you can't see, but it is actually it's brilliant white. It's a brilliant creamy white. It's beautiful, but it doesn't look that white in the video for some reason. I think it's because it's the time of day. Okay. Okay, that's ready. The macadamia cheese has been culturing for just 12 hours, and look, I think the 4-day Rejuvelac is really working well. Look at all these air pockets. So I'm going to have a little taste. I'm not sure that I have time to actually prepare the cheese now, so I may have to leave it and finish it off later. I'm just going to have a little taste. Oh yes, look. See how it was inflated. I had a little taste. You can see how airy and fluffy it is. It has that tangy, lemony taste. There's a hint of coconut flavour to it. That comes from the coconut milk, but I think that will probably fade when I flavour the cheese. I think I'm going to leave it a little bit longer. The macadamia nut cheese has been culturing for about 22 hours now. It's light and fluffy, has a sharp, tangy taste to it, so it's ready to be made into cheese. Now I added 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt to the whole mixture, mixed it in well, and then divided the mixture into 5 bowls. So there's about 105 grams of cheese per bowl. Okay, let's go and make some cheese. Okay, so for the first one I'm just going to place the cheese in the form of a little log on top of these chives. Okay, so now I'm going to roll it. So as you can see, I've lifted up this side of the cheesecloth, covered it over the top and tucked in the ends, and now I'm just going to roll it over and completely cover it. Okay, I've rolled it over and tucked in the ends underneath. I'm going to put that on a plate and that's going into the fridge. Right, cheese number 2, another little log, this time with dill. This is dried dill. I couldn't find any fresh today, so I'm going with the with dried. So I'm just going to spoon this into a little log shape. Okay, you can hardly see it, it's definitely in there somewhere. I've sprinkled some dried dill over the top. I really do prefer fresh, I must admit, but I've just had to go with the dried today. So now I'm just going to wrap the log up like I did with the other one. Okay, so this one's wrapped up as well. This piece of cheesecloth was smaller than the other one, so I've wrapped it up, tucked in the ends like an involtino, like a Chinese spring roll. For this cheese, I'm going to use this little ring mould. I'm going to cover it with this piece of boiled cheesecloth and then add some peppercorns, and they will be at the bottom of the mould, but it will become the top of our cheese. And then I'll just spoon this in on top. So hopefully all of this will fit into this. I don't know, because looking at it like this, it doesn't look like it'll fit, but I shall press it down. Okay, here goes. Okay, a few pink peppercorns at the bottom. Now for the moment of truth. Well, I managed to get it all in, so now I'm just going to fold over the edges of the cheesecloth and make it into a little parcel. Okay, this piece of cheesecloth is really quite big, probably too big for this little mould, so I've packed it in really well and pressed down the cheesecloth. This piece here I shall just let it sit on top. It's not a problem if it's not tight or anything. I'll just tuck it in a little bit. Okay, that's packed in. Yeah, I could have gone with a smaller piece of cheesecloth, definitely. With the final 2 bowls of macadamia nut cheese, I'm going to make a layered cheese. So for this one I'm going to use my larger mould, which is an 11 centimetre in diameter or 4.5 inch diameter mould. I'm going to line it with a piece of cheesecloth and let's get started. I sprinkled in some dried dill on the bottom of the mould on the cheesecloth, and I'm just going to spoon in 1 bowl of cheese. Right, so 1 bowl of cheese is in there. I've pressed it down pretty well, as you can see. It's taken up about half of the mould. So now I'm going to add some slices of pear. They're not thick and they're not terribly thin, and I've just sprinkled a little bit of lemon juice on top. So now I'm just going to spread them out on top of this layer of cheese. So here's the layer of sliced pear. Now I'm just going to spoon on top the rest of the cheese mixture. So the other bowl of cheese, that's going on top now. Okay, so it's ready. So I have 3 layers basically. I have 1 layer of cheese, then a layer of pear slices in the middle, and then another layer of cheese on top. Now I'm just going to fold over the corners and close up the package and then put it into the fridge. So here are my cheeses. I have 2 little logs, one with chives, one with dill. Then I have one with pink peppercorns, and finally a layered cheese with sliced pears. So now these are going to go into the fridge and age for a few days. The macadamia nut cheese has been in the fridge aging for exactly 1 week. So now it's time to unwrap these little packages and have a taste. And here are the two macadamia nut chèvre. So this is with dill, and this with chives. I think I probably overdid it a little bit with the dill. Anyway, you can see the texture. Now these haven't been in the dehydrator, yet there is a sort of rind on them, as you can see. They are cuttable, if that's even a word, but let me just show you. They're also spreadable. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. So, onto a cracker. So, there you go. So they're also spreadable, cuttable and spreadable. Very nice texture, nice and creamy. There is a hint of coconut milk, of coconut flavour to them. That's from the coconut milk, but nothing, not too much. And this is the pink peppercorn cheese. So let's spread some on a cracker and have a little taste. Yes, this is a lovely cheese as well. Very creamy and spreadable and very pretty. And this is the layered cheese. And in the middle, as you can see, there's a layer of sliced pear. And it's delicious because it gives you a hint of sweetness together with the tanginess of the cheese. It's perfect. It's really, really nice. Now all of these cheeses are perfectly delicious to eat as they are. They don't need to be dehydrated. But if you have a dehydrator, this is the one I would probably dehydrate, purely for the fact that it's been in this bigger mould. So it hasn't really been able to dry out as much as these. These were just wrapped in cheesecloth and they're smaller, and so they are naturally drier. But you really don't need to. Now, if, like I said, if you don't have a dehydrator and you would like this one to be drier, after a couple of days that it has sort of taken its got its form from this mold, gently take it out and leave it on a plate, still wrapped, but so the air can circulate around it, and it will just dry out more. So these are macadamia nut cheeses, which have been cultured with a 4-day Rejuvelac and have been in the fridge aging for 7 days, and they're ready to eat and they're delicious.